Today, I'm gonna lick 7 way too bougie brown paper envelopes and seal them. After sealing each one, I'll carefully lay a stamp on it. Then I'll slowly and methodically ruin the whole envelope by writing an address on it. Let's be honest, my handwriting is less like predictable computer font and more like a handwritten card from a 3rd grader. No offense, 3rd graders. Anyway, today I'm sending a letter to each of the groomsmen who stood in my wedding way back in 2012. But nobody writes me letters anymore except for realtors, insurance agents, and other people who want my money. So why am I doing this? Every year since 2015, I've written a letter to my groomsmen because on January 14th of that year, I felt strongly like God wanted me to act on a small creative idea. And I happened to hear a story that night, a story that reshaped how I look at small, creative ideas.
Audible. Hi,
my name is Rob Vischer. You're listening to the first episode of my new podcast, Audible God. With every new episode, you'll hear stories of ordinary people who claim they heard from God. You'll hear from a guy who put a box of diapers on his head, and another dude who made over $2,000 from acting on a dream. And today, you'll hear from an artist who thought God told him to paint a portrait for a friend who was in a coma. I'm here today with Shon Hudspeth, one of my great friends. He's an artist that does portraits.
Hudspeth.
That was mildly embarrassing. Before we go any further, though, let's talk about my good friend, Shon Hudspeth. Because while he's not here, I can call him anything I want. When I saw him for the first time, he reminded me of an Alice in Wonderland character, except more rock and roll. Much like Dolly Parton or Elton John, he looks like he's from another planet. Well, maybe just another neighborhood. A neighborhood normal people like me read about on TMZ. He sports a long black ponytail, a wide, warm, almost childlike smile, and usually rocks an all-black outfit complete with black platform shoes that showcase a large, visible silver spring at the heel. His shoes look like steampunk versions of pilgrim shoes. You know, like Jamestown, the Mayflower, Thanksgiving. Like those black shoes, except sponsored by Slinky. He's definitely never seen the inside of any cubicle. When you meet him, if you're not instantly curious about his look and his shoes, he'll eventually draw you in through his magnetic brand of kindness and conversational storytelling. Listen to him.
I was at a dinner engagement, and there happened to be a nurse that was sitting at the table that we were all part of, and when I was saying my name, Shawn, they were like, well, I had a patient, last night named Shawn. And I was like, well, so what's up with your patient, Shawn? They're like, well, we're not really allowed to talk much about, what's going on, but I just worry about this young man because he's so young. And for some reason, he had collapsed while he was at work one day. And I was like, oh, that's, horrible. And they said he was a runner. And I kept saying, okay, well, this sounds like somebody that I know, but I just kind of, pushed it aside and kept listening. And then they said that he had gone home and within 2 days had gone to his neighbors, which was his roommate's mother, who was kind of like a surrogate mother to him because his family lived in Mississippi and he lived here in Nashville. And she was going to kind of take care of him for the weekend because he was feeling like he had the flu or something. Or he just wasn't feeling well. And he went in to take a nap, and I think she checked on him maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours later, and she couldn't wake him up. And so they rushed him to the hospital, and he was in a coma at that moment. As this person was describing the situation, I kept seeing my friend. His face kept coming into my vision. And I was like, wow. I said, this sounds crazy, but I just have an inclination that I think I know this person you're talking about. And they were like, well, maybe so, but probably not. And I was like, I know you can't give me information because of HIPAA laws, but if I ask you a hint about this person, could you just say yes or no? And they're like, I can't make any promises, but go ahead. And this was around 9:30 or 10 p.m. at night. And so I said, would his last name kind of remind you of a city maybe in Alabama? And they were like, I'm not going to say yes or no, but you might be onto something.
He was more than onto something. His friend's name was Shawn Birmingham. So Shon Hudspeth was out with a group of people at dinner when a friend of a friend who happened to be a nurse heard Shon Hudspeth's name and starts randomly sharing a tragic story about one of her patients who had the same first name. And the patient happened to be Shon Hudspeth's friend, Shawn Birmingham. Don't get the two confused. Hudspeth, the artist. Birmingham, the guy in a coma.
This nurse said, well, he's alone right now because his family's out of state and they're trying to make accommodations to be able to get here, but he's been alone in ICU for, quite some time. And I was just like, oh my goodness gracious, So this prompting was in my spirit and it kept telling me, you need to go and paint a painting of him. And I was like, why? And I was like, why? And it's like, well, he's alone. And so what if he wakes up tomorrow and no one's there? At least he'll know that you were there and you had been there and left a painting just to let him know that can't wait. And I wanted to paint him when he was smiling, because his smile is so vibrant and beautiful. And, he has one of those ultra bright or Colgate smiles. And so that's how I said he walks in the room. You're like, look at that bright light, his smile is so radiant. And so I was like, I want to capture a smile for him just as a little, like say I was here and I'm, praying for you and I'm hoping good things, And so it's around 10 p.m. at night and I kept saying, well, I'll do it, and I'll take it to him. And I felt this tugging at my heart and God saying, you're going to do it right now. And I'm like, it's 10 p.m. What are you talking about? No way, and I kept trying to talk myself out of it. And I felt the Spirit of the Lord. And this is the first time that honestly, he was saying, give me the brush. And I'm like, okay, I've prayed over every portrait that I've done because I want to honor the person that I'm painting. But this time it was something that I thought I wanted to do, but it was kind of out of my hands.
So at 10 p.m., Shawn picked up his brush and started painting and painting and painting and painting and painting and painting.
The painting started forming itself and I'm saying, okay, well, he's coming together. There he is. And around 2:15, 3 a.m., I would say I was completely finished with it. And I was like, okay, that's done. So I'll just take it to him later on today. And God's like, no, you're taking it to him now. And I'm like, what? Now? And I was like, first and foremost, I think he's in ICU. Secondly, I don't even know exactly, what floor that is, or I don't know what the hours are, the visiting. I know nothing. He's like, get in the car. And I'm like, what are you? No, seriously? And I pull up to the hospital, and honestly, I'm telling you, I tried my best to talk myself out of it. I kept trying to be like, you have lost your mind right now. And I was just like, I don't know what's going on, but again, it feels like I'm out of body sort of, and there's a bigger presence kind of taking over. And I said, here I go. So I walk in, I look on the, this is, again, 3 a.m. I look on the chart where ICU might be, and I guess I go to the floor, walk in like I own the place, with my little gift bag, and it's quiet, of course. It's really, really, like, demure. People are asleep. Sometimes some of the nurses probably were as well. And I look over, and I see a nurse. It was a male nurse at the time, and he's like, hey, man. And I was like, hi. And I said, I'm here to see Shawn Birmingham. And he's like, oh, wow. And I was like, I just needed to drop this off, And he's like, oh, well, thank you for coming. And I appreciate that. He goes, but he's a really, really sick young man. And I said, okay, well, do you mind if I just go and say a prayer with him, And he's like, sure, he's right in here. So he led me to his room. And I saw my friend laying there by himself on a ventilator with tubes everywhere. And it was too much. The moment I was just like, Lord, have mercy on this sweet soul, Wow, have mercy on him. put the painting on a little counter right in front of his bed. And the funny thing is about my parents, when we were children, my dad used to pray over our feet because, as you know, the Bible states that his word is a light into our path, and a lamp into our feet. And so he would always pray over our feet. And since Shawn was a runner, I looked at his feet, and I even took a picture of them because I wanted to pray over his feet, and I even wanted my dad to pray over his feet as well. And so I simply prayed with him, held his hand at the moment, and I just left the painting there, and I went home. I woke up the next morning around 8:30, and I had, at that time, used to keep my phone on silent because I needed rest. And that was before the notification social media world really took over. But when I woke up, I had gotten a voicemail from his mother. It was around 6:30 in the morning, and she apparently had gotten to the hospital, and they had seen the painting and had opened the card, and it was a tearful message from his mom.
Hi, Shawn. This is Michelle, Birmingham, Shawn's mother. I just opened the gift that was brought. I don't know if you were here yesterday. If you did, I did not see you, and I'm sorry. But I wanted to just let you know how much we appreciate your thoughts, and I know Shawn would. And the gift, the painting, is just phenomenal. I appreciate it so much. It's just precious. And I'm sure he'll love it too when he sees it. But right now it's good for my heart. And I thank you. And we will keep all his friends updated. So there's not a whole lot. He's a little bit worse. There's some other conditions like pneumonia and so forth. Seems to be setting in, but we're just going to fight.
Wow. And it was the first time that I had, I guess, physically realized, the impact of what my artistry could do for anyone. I thought it was just in the past about, here's something to hang on your wall and smile about, but to have someone say, this means so much to us right now. It meant so much to me too. I decided to go down later in that day and meet them, and we kind of connected. And I guess the funny part about this is the painting kind of took a life of its own, and people were like, I want one. Like the grandparents wanted one, the father wanted one. The younger brother wanted one. The first painting was just of Shawn, and he was just smiling as a profile. His grandfather wanted a duplicate of that, but bigger, So I did a larger one for his grandfather. And then his grandparents both were like, well, we were with him when he was, graduating college or high school or whatever. And can you paint, him in the middle of both of us? And I was like, okay, sure. And put some color into it because he loves blue and he had bright blue eyes or has bright blue eyes. I'm like, well, of course, let's do that.
Well, we got to know him because we saw him frequently. He brought so much to us. He even came in and saw our other son sitting in a chair in the waiting room, overnight, just laying out in a chair. He went and bought him a pillow and a blanket. I mean, that's how sensitive he is, But he brought a painting that he did, and we'd never seen any of his work before. But it was of our Shawn's face, head, shoulders. It wasn't like a whole body shot, but it was a great, wonderful picture. And it was such a blessing because at that point, we didn't know if that might be the last depiction of our son that we had. He was on a ventilator. He was, just unresponsive to anything around him.